This is the February 15th, 2022 meeting of the Oregon City Transportation Advisory Committee. And at this time, I would like to say, Kim, we appreciate your hard work for all the time you've been here and working with us. And we wish you the best in your move. And would you be so kind as to call the roll?
I will do that. Thank you, Henry. Henry McEnroth.
Here.
Tim Morgan.
Here.
Edamir Jessic.
Here.
Ray Atkinson.
Present.
Ben Simmons.
Here.
Bruce Fries.
Here.
And Mr. Tatch. Miles, right? Miles. Yeah.
Here. Yes. Not Hannah. That's my wife's name.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm like, I'm thinking that's not right.
Yeah. The next item on the agenda is, I believe, the minutes. Is there anybody who wants to make any changes to them? Not hearing any. Do I hear a motion to approve them?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. And all that who want to abstain, say abstain. It passes. Does anybody want to make any changes to the agenda? Vance?
Yes, Henry. I did receive correspondence back from Senator Kennemer in regards to the SJR 204 bill regarding the tolling. And we were a little worried about timing. If the TAC would like to have a supporting letter, whichever way with tolling. I heard back from them that the session was going to be through the month of February to the 24th. So if you would like to add that as a topic, you're more than welcome, Henry.
I believe it's already on the Public Works agenda. Kim revised it.
Oh, she did. Yet again, Kim is way ahead of me.
Well, at this point, I would like to say I've been using Malala for the last couple of months, and that is a vast improvement over the rat race that was there before. So I think you guys did a good job out there. So moving on, we have comments from the citizens, and I believe we had a correspondence this afternoon. Kim, didn't you send out an email?
I did. I sent out the email that she had sent to me and the letter that she wanted to read that was attached. However, she is not here. So I guess we can move on, and then if she shows up, we can give her time.
Okay, that would be my position, I should think. What's the next item on the agenda, Kim?
That would be Aquila giving her presentation on the OC 2040 comprehensive plan update. And I will make you a co-host so you can share your screen.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Aquila Hurd-Ravitch, and I'm the Interim Community Development Director. And I'm new to OC 2040, so I can give you, I'm going to give you an overview, and I may not be able to answer your questions, but I can take them down and get back to you. So let me start this presentation. And now I've got to make it full screen here. Okay. All right. Everyone can see that?
I have it.
Great. Okay. All right. So OC 2040. So what is OC 2040? It's an update that follows a year-long community visioning effort. And it's really going to be an update to our comprehensive plan. And the intent is to update the comprehensive plan so that it reflects the vision that was that we got from community outreach. And I'll go into that a little bit more later, but essentially the plan will be implemented through goals and policies. And that's what we're developing right now, or they are developed, and we're asking for comment on the goals and policies. But first, so what is a comprehensive plan? It's required by the state, and essentially it is a guide to our code, to the land use code, and it kind of sets the direction. It's a long range 20-year look at where we want to go. They're typically 20-year planning documents, but they need to be updated more regularly than every 20 years. And then it gets implemented through other plans like the Parks Master Plan, Transportation System Plan, and then concept plans that we have. So the way that the revised comp plan will be laid out is this kind of overarching vision, and then goals and policies. And then the later part that OC 2040 does not do are the implementation pieces, and that's usually what comes later. So comp plans are meant to be high-level guiding documents, and we're tracking the implementation items, but that will end up occurring through later actions. So what I'd like to do tonight is just kind of review some of the outreach and engagement. And then if you have any initial feedback, we'd love to get that. And there is an online forum where you can go, and that address will come up later, and give your comments in that online forum. So this is where we're at now. Let's see, I need to move this little screen around a little bit so I can see. Okay. So as you can see, we started the community outreach back in 2020, and that's what influenced the vision statements, and then created that vision statement, and from there created the goals and policies. And now we've been kind of taking it out on this road show to get some feedback on those goals and policies. The next step is to go back to Planning Commission and the City Commission. They had a joint meeting, I think in January. We're going to have some more meetings to give us some specific edits that they may have to wording, and then they'll have another joint meeting and eventually hearings to adopt the comp plan. Okay. So in developing these draft goals and policy ideas, the primary intent is to establish a guiding framework around the community vision. And the goals and policies were developed based on community feedback and meetings with the project advisory team, review of the existing comp plan, review of best practices, and input from city staff. And the project advisory team really played an important role. And I think they met like 10 or 11 times, and they have one more meeting coming up. So they've given us quite a bit of feedback. So through the community outreach, we had these summits, some coffee and comp plan drop-in series that people could drop into the community development office and kind of talk to staff about their thoughts. And then, so it was 11 project advisory team meetings. I'm sorry to interrupt myself. Am I the only one that sees the admit somebody, or do I need to do that now, or does Kim still have that?
No, I can do it.
Okay,
I
okay,
admit it. Yeah.
sorry. I'm
No
sorry.
worries.
Like,
No, you're fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. So these kind of 4 vision statements is what was adopted by the city commission in August. And so that's what we're basing the goals and policies on. And the document's going to be, the comp plan will be organized around these 4 themes. So it's healthy and welcoming community, diverse economy, connected infrastructure, and a protected environment. And the goal, one of the things that we're doing with this comp plan update is to streamline it. Right now, it's pretty bulky. It's pretty lengthy, and so we want to be able to edit more user friendly. And so at this point, these are some of the things that we're looking for. We'll run through these. I'm not going to read through all of the policy concepts, but they are part of the summit. It's online, and so you can spend time with each of them. But the goals are diverse and inclusive community engagement, protecting and acknowledging historic and cultural resources, the safe, healthy, and comfortable neighborhoods, and integrated diversity, equity, and inclusive approaches. And then under diverse economy, we're looking at a dynamic, ecologically sound, and socially equitable economy, housing options for all residents, maintaining the urban growth boundary, and sustainable site design and construction practices. With connected infrastructure, we're looking at safe, equitable, multimodal transportation system, maintaining and improving public facilities and infrastructure, ensuring health and safety through comprehensive service approach provisions, and resiliency and energy conservation. And then the 4th one is under our protected environment vision statement. And so the goals there are a system of trails, parks, and recreational amenities, function, health, and diversity of natural resources and ecosystems, and mitigating natural hazard risk, and managing rapid response and recovery. So those are the main areas, the goals and policies. This is just kind of this is the website here that you can go to, OC 2040, to give us some more feedback. And so there's this set of questions for kind of each of those policy and goal statements. You know, is it on the right track? Do they need a little bit of work? Does it need a lot of work? And if there's any other comments or ideas that you want to share. And so what this is just a little sneak peek of what the comprehensive plan will look like. And so the document now is, it's dated. I think it was, adopted first like in the early 80s, which a lot of our cities, that's when they first adopted comp plans, and then they kind of get slowly updated. And so this, I think, is probably the first really comprehensive plan update. I should have come up with a better word than comprehensive, but anyway, so we'll have more pictures and just making it easier to read and to follow and to understand what we're trying to achieve. And so, yeah, with that's really all I have. I really encourage you to visit the website, and then you can take a deeper dive into each of those areas and provide some feedback. And so I think, yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, great.
We do have at least one question. I have one, but Ray beat me to it. So I'm going to have Ray ask his question.
You can go ahead. It's fine. We got for you. Joey speaking.
Go for it, Ray. You're ahead of me.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I don't know if of course it's wordsmith tonight. I know that's one thing that city commission was being told not to do. So I don't know if I'll just go ahead and wordsmith. Within the transportation, the infrastructure section about equitable, multimodal transportation. I know the city commission was, concerned about the word equitable, and I'm also curious about what that means, because in my definition, it means equitable for walking, biking, transit, driving, all of them be equitable. And I don't know if that's feasible in Oregon City, or if that's something we
Right.
actually want. And so I wanted to call that out and see what the rest of the TAC thinks about that word equitable.
Would you like me to bring that back up? Would that be helpful?
Perhaps just sending it up through John, saying this is the what you came up with would be sufficient, so that we, basically, so we understand.
Oh, I guess I was wondering if you wanted me to bring the slide back up
Oh.
for you all to
I'm so-
discuss it.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
But no, we certainly can,
Sure.
send the revision up,
Mhm.
through John.
My question kind of follows up with what Ray had, but in all the comp plans I've ever looked at, there doesn't seem to be any discussion about which one of the goals or policies trump the others. And in essence, what happens when, I'll pick something, when a transportation bike path impacts a park?
Great.
Which goal governs? Will it be the park? Will it be the transportation aspect? Are they to be considered equal? How to resolve that kind of a dilemma?
Good question.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a great thing to bring up.
Any other questions? Well, thank you. We enjoyed it. You're welcome back anytime.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We're gonna have a discussion about those items. I was trying to open up for a discussion about equitable. I don't know if anyone else has that thoughts, but I just want to put it out there. That's something I've been thinking about. So if no one else wants to discuss that, I guess we can move on. So
I think it does warrant some discussion also, just based on, Henry, what you said. It sounds like a very similar approach. Is it an equitable sharing of the use when you have that situation like you just mentioned between a park and a bike path, say? Or probably more like we're going to see is auto traffic, shared use autos like buses and whatnot, versus bikes, walking, and all that.
Certainly, another aspect of that whole business of how do you work your way through this jungle?
Quick question, this is my first meeting. Is there a place where people are submitting their names for an order here, or do you just pipe up when you got something to say?
Well, and it took me several go-throughs on Zoom, like 2 or 3 years, but someplace on the Zoom picture, there's a place for reactions, and that's where you can get your hand raised up. If you can't find that, I say, speak up so I don't miss you.
Thanks.
Is it okay if I briefly respond to the question about equitable? Is that?
Yeah.
So my take on it, and I think what we will need to do as a project team is maybe define what that means. I don't don't think that the intention is that every place in Oregon City has the same multimodal transportation. I think what that means is that every place in Oregon City should have access to some type of multimodal transportation. And so that will need some clarification, but I hear what you're saying, Ray. I can't see how every neighborhood can support the same, bus, bike, pedestrian, whatever else there is out there, because that it's many reasons why all of those things aren't going to work in every neighborhood. But I think what we're trying to get to is that neighborhoods have options, and all neighborhoods have some type of option, within a reasonable distance. That's my take on it. So I would want to clarify that. And I think because that has come up, before, it will again, it warrants some kind of fleshing out and definition.
John has his hand up and has been very patient. So, John?
Thanks, Henry. Hey, Aquila, I wonder if, yeah, we do have some new members on here, and even some of those that aren't new members, thinking, I struggle a little bit with these larger envisioning documents for jurisdictions and how they go from, a pretty cover and, good language to implementation. And I would be surprised if there's not a few questions about that in this audience. They might not know what to ask about a comprehensive plan, for instance. And so, what I know about a comprehensive plan, what I know about kind of the hierarchy of things is we have a charter and we have code. Our charter is kind of like, that's what I think of as a very, high level guiding document, but there's some specifics in there too that are very, very, very specific. For instance, voter approval for certain things are required in the charter, and it talks, a lot about our governance and how, elections happen, those kind of things. But so there's the charter, and then we've got city code, right, which is very prescriptive and, has a lot of directions. But this comprehensive plan fits somewhere in between, if I'm not correct, if I'm correct about that. And most of the documents like what we have that we tend to pay close attention to is the transportation system plan, right? So for transportation, that's kind of the guiding document. Parks might have a parks master plan. There's all these ancillary documents that really sit under that comprehensive plan. So I know that much about it. That I haven't been involved enough with the 2040 plan. Probably should have been a lot more involved, but it's really trying to paint a pretty high level vision of what we want our community to be, right? So if folks have concerns about how Oregon City is today, or how they think development's going to change things in the future, they would want to pay attention to that comprehensive plan, right? Because it talks a lot about the makeup of your community. It might not say, I think there's still an expectation for development, but maybe how much parkland you have in your, in your city. The pathway piece. There is a big transportation element to this, I think, but I don't think I've done a great job of covering all that, but maybe you can share a little bit more of your insight as someone who has done it in other agencies, and this kind of landed in your lap when you got here because it was well underway. But do you mind doing a little bit more with that?
Yeah. And I think you set some good context there for the various kind of pieces of regulation and guiding documents that the city has to follow. And so it just so happens that our deputy city attorney gave a great presentation to Planning Commission last night and talked a lot about the comprehensive plan. So it's kind of fresh in my mind. And so starting where John picked up with the charter, and then our municipal code, and then the comp plan, and I should probably go like charter and then municipal code, something like that. And then the comp plan's kind of tucked in between, but it doesn't govern everything in the municipal code. It's more specific to our land use. So we are required, the city is required by the state through the Department of Land Use and Conservation to have a comprehensive plan. And that comprehensive plan needs to be acknowledged by them. That the reason why we are required to have that is the state has, I think it's 19 goals, and all cities are required to meet these goals. And the way that we do that is going through this comprehensive plan process to say, here's how we're addressing these certain things. And then we give that comprehensive plan to the state, and they acknowledge it, is what it's called. And once it's acknowledged, we've got this guiding document, and we no longer have to refer back to these goals, the state goals, because we're already in compliance through our comprehensive plan. And so then our zoning code that really is governing mostly land use ties into the comprehensive plan and has to kind of meet the policies and goals in the comprehensive plan. And so once our zoning code does that, then a developer can come in, or, the zoning code can kind of rule land use, basically. A developer can come in and see that they need a site plan design review, and that's all they really have to do, because we've made sure our zoning code fits within our comprehensive plan, which fits within the state's goals. So I see the comprehensive plan really informing the zoning code. And in Oregon City, that's multiple chapters, right? That's chapter 17, and I think probably some of the land division chapters. So it's kind of spread out. And the reason why it's high level is because it's saying this is where we want to go into the future. And so our zoning code has to get us there. It has to get us to that place with, certain, say, residential areas that allow certain densities and certain types of residential units. And that would get to a goal of provide multiple housing option types. The transportation system plan that you all probably spend a lot of time in is part of the comprehensive plan, because it fulfills one of the state's land use goals, which I think is titled Goal 12, not titled, but Goal 12. And so it is adopted in kind of like ancillary to that comp plan. And so are our concept plans. So that's kind of how it guides it. So the time where it may come, where like a developer, say, would have to use it, and usually the people who really have to use a comprehensive plan are staff, so that when we are making legislative changes, or if there is a zone change or a change to the comprehensive plan map, there's we have to go back and say, how are we meeting these goals and policies in the comprehensive plan? That's where it shows up. And it's not, other states do have something similar. I worked for a little while in California, and they have something called the general plan, and it kind of does the same thing where you've got this overarching guiding document. So I'll stop there. I hope that wasn't too plannerific, but yeah.
Ray, you have your hand up.
Yeah, as a planner, I like going into the nuts and bolts of this, and I'm curious about since the state is currently looking at updating the transportation rule, the statewide rule, through the what's called the Climate Friendly and Equitable Communities rulemaking process. I'm curious about how, since that's supposed to be adopted by May possibly, or sometime this year, is that rulemaking process going to impact the OC 2040, or is that too late to get involved with our comprehensive plan? Because, you know, the statewide rules are going to impact our comprehensive plan process.
So good question. I don't think it, so they are, it sounds like the state is on track to adopt something in May. I don't think it's going to affect the OC 2040 process. The things that I saw in there, I'm trying to remember offhand, I did talk with staff from the state, and one of the things they required is that we do, they called it a housing capacity analysis, and we just adopted a housing needs analysis, and it turns out those are the same thing. They just changed the wording. So that part of it we comply with. I guess there are some new rules that will affect transportation planning, and right now their recommendation is that when we update the transportation system plan, that at that time we will comply with the rules, but we don't need to do anything prior to that. You all may know this already, but because we're part of Metro, when Metro adopts their regional transportation system plan, typically that kicks into effect, that's a trigger. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a trigger for cities in Metro to then update their transportation system plan. And I think they are getting ready for their next one. So the rules that the state is coming up with now, we will have to comply with eventually, but I don't think we have to make any immediate changes.
Well, as a final little wrap up here, would it be fair to say that the comp plan is principles and opinion, and not opinions, but vision, and that the code and the charter are implementing documents to get to that position?
I think that's a fair thing to say about the comp plan and the code. The charter is kind of lives a little bit separately from those two things, but they contain requirements, whereas the comp plan just says this is what we want to do. Right. Yeah, and it'll say this is what we want to do, so make sure you do it.
Yeah, exactly. Again, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions or anything? Then I would say we probably should move on.
Henry,
Yes.
we had our citizen join us, so
Then comment from the citizen.
Christina, if you want to unmute yourself and then state your name and residence, and you'll have 3 minutes for your comment.
Hi, everybody. I am Christina Franklin, and I live in Oregon City at about the intersection of Lynn and Pearl. I live on Lynn Avenue, and I recently found out from a social media post that South End Road is getting ready to close down. It's a county project, I know, but my street is the detour street. And I was not aware that all that traffic was coming onto Lynn Avenue until I saw some random person post about it on social media. I'm a little concerned about this because Lynn is already a crazy busy street, and this section of Lynn in particular is very curvy. I already think the speed limit is too high. I know that's a rather unpopular opinion. But there's blind driveways such as my own. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic, more than you would realize. And the pedestrians are sharing the bike, not path, but the bike lane with bicyclists and skateboarders, and it's not a very wide lane. And I'm really worried that with the extra traffic from the detour that something bad is, it seems adding danger to danger. I don't know, since it's a county project, I know ODOT is responsible for speed limits. There's not enough time to change a speed limit, but I'm hoping that some kind of mitigation can happen during that detour process. And that was all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time and consideration.
John, do you or Vance want to respond to anything?
Well, I just say thank you, Christina. I'm very familiar with Lynn Avenue. It's been at the TAC a variety of years since I've been staffing the TAC. South End is the hill anyway, or what we consider South End Hill, between South Second and the top of the hill at Barker. There is a county road. They are doing a significant repair to that area. It's in an active slide zone. So if folks use South End Road, you've seen the cracks in the road. It's a slow creeping slide, but something that's been sliding for years, and the county has received some grant funding to fix it. So that's what they're going to do, and it will be closed for about a year. The South End has been closed before. So it closed before when it actually slid and became too problematic to let traffic through there. So, and they did a temporary repair in there at that time. And yeah, at that time we established a detour route, which takes traffic really from South End at Warner Parrott up by the little market up there on the top of the hill. And that's where it detours traffic on the top end. And then on the bottom end, it obviously detours it at High Street and South Second. And there's signage that's posted in both those areas that do direct it onto Lynn Avenue and Warner Parrott. And that's the detour route. I will say that folks also use Center Street, which is and Center Street Hill, which is also not a great detour route, but they get a lot of traffic there. If you live in the area or you live on the hilltop, there's just a handful of routes to get up and down the hill. And so Lynn being one of them, Center being another, and Malala, obviously, are kind of the main corridors there. So yeah, it's taking a lot of traffic that uses South End Road and splitting it. And the signed route is 5th to Lynn to Warner Parrott. I know when it happened before, we didn't, a lot of folks necessarily follow the sign detour route, but a lot did. And you know how people are, they tend to find their routes. And but that said, we do have some authority in under like a construction project to lower speed limits. And we'll have to look into the idea of, if it's South End that's under construction, but we're diverting traffic onto another street, can that be then essentially considered part of the construction zone that we would have the authority to reduce traffic? I've made a note. I'll look into that because that may be an option. And I know we've talked a little bit more about Lynn, and we've heard a lot about Lynn Avenue speeds. You know, I do think it falls within, it's posted within the 85th percentile, but we've gotten a little bit more authority there to go to the 50th percentile. So we may change speed, you know, pursue a speed limit change on Lynn Avenue in the not so distant future. It's been several years since we asked the state to look at that again. So we may do that again, but this idea of construction speed might be good. And we can definitely do advisory warning signage along there and require the county to post that for us. So Christina, I'll take a look at that. And you can, if you give us a month or so and reach out to myself or Vance, we can let you know how that's going.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing it to their attention. Next item on the agenda would be the discussion about whether or not we want to send a letter in support of or rejection of the question of putting the tolling of freeways up to a vote of the people. So I think I got that squared away in a way that expresses the whole concept. Kim, do you have the more or less official statement of what that is about? No? Okay.
No. I thought that it was you just wanted to discuss it, and Vance he reached out to the senator.
Yeah. So
Henry, just to be square here, I didn't know you were bringing it on to the agenda. And so I think having an open discussion about, I can't remember, did you bring forward a draft of that last meeting? I don't remember that.
At the last meeting, I just requested that it be brought to this meeting to whether or not we would support the proposed constitutional amendment that our state senator is trying to present, that would require a vote of people within 15 miles of either side of any roadway that was being considered for tolling.
And then Vance, the timeline for that, what did you hear back? What did he say? He needed a letter, or do we have time to work on a letter?
We have a little bit of time, John. I heard back from Sherry McGinnis, the legislative assistant for Senator Kennemer, and her email to me was SJR 204 is most likely being referred to the Joint Committee on Transportation. Their closing date is later than the regular committee's, February 24th. So your letter from the TAC would be timely. In my email correspondence with her, I mentioned that we have this meeting tonight, and that's really all she says about that. So we do have a little bit of time, or the TAC has a little bit of time if they would like to.
And this is the short legislative session. It has to be over by the end of the month.
Henry.
Tim.
John, my question would be this, is that I think we all probably have an opinion on this, and we can talk about this in great detail. Does the city council have a letter that they're wanting to draft in addition? And I would hate to have two things be conflicting, something coming from us and something coming from them? Or are they looking for us to put the voice on this and in our own words and send it off?
The city commission's working through the mayor in a letter that the C4 has drafted. I just saw that letter come up in my email today, and I think they've got a C4 meeting on Thursday. So that's how our city commission's kind of approaching that. And I'm gonna see if I can pull it up now, but they sent, I think this is sent to the Oregon Transportation Commission, not to the senator. I mean, the senator is proposing something, and that has to go through a variety of committee before it really becomes a bill. But I suspect any kind of a letter of support. It's a little, yeah. I can't remember. Is there a draft? I think, Tim, you were the one that had some communications with Bill Kennemer too.
Yes.
Is there a draft language for that? What that bill looks like?
Yes. So I did talk to him. He called me back, gave me an indication of exactly what it is. Basically, he's proposing that to make it a ballot measure, that any resident that lives within 15 miles of any proposed tolling area, that includes 205 and I-5 and any other areas within the state, that it has to go to the vote of the people to allow that, because of the hardships for the local cities when it creates additional traffic. So I told him that we were discussing this, that Henry brought it up, and that he was very encouraged by any kind of support for it that he can use to gather other support from other members of the House and the Senate on that. So that's how he sent me the actual draft that was being sent. Then the day after, I think he got COVID. So then he wasn't able to appear. So somebody else sent it through. Also following up, I was attending on I guess it was a Facebook thing for Senator Wyden, who was doing a thing on Clackamas County. He was totally clueless that we even had anything going on here about it. I was really flattered that he didn't even know about the tolling or any of that stuff. But he said he would look into it. So I did contact his office. I'm still waiting with crickets to hear him and tell him that we've got lots of data we'd be happy to give to him, and maybe he can go find some federal money to maybe offset this problem. So he's concerned about his expression was about, well, what about the people who can't afford to pay a toll every day? And I go, well, that's just part of the group, so between those two, Senator Wyden and Senator Kilmer, I think if it's in our position to do so, we can give the data that we have talked about and then just do an encouragement letter of we're supporting the action by it, that it should be referred to the vote of the people, and then just let it be as that. I think pretty much everybody is in agreement for that, and I don't think that would hurt. But there was a good point brought up. What if this mayor's office is looking somewhere opposite of us? That would be very kind of embarrassing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I certainly don't think we need to step on too many toes, but if it is in favor, I'll get it out. If it is okay with the mayor, and then I think we should probably proceed. The thing that I see is coming is that personally, because I think they're looking for money to maintain the freeways, that all of the freeways, all the highways through municipal areas could eventually get tolled.
But what about this? I hadn't had a chance to watch that presentation today, but that, if they don't implement tolling, we're looking 16 hours of congestion just in our area a day down the road, over time, versus 2 hours. So that's what the new data is projecting. So
And the congestion generally takes care of itself. Yes, we'll get some feedback just generally from, pass through like we do now. Anybody familiar with the area knows how to get around most of the congestion. And that's normal. If we put tolls on it, that then getting into the realm of what is a fee and what is a tax?
Right, and I also think with their obvious, and they admitted their intent to add this to I-5 and maybe even 217 and expand it. So if it was only one particular corridor that they were trying to dissuade people from using, then that is going to mitigate some of the problems and push traffic elsewhere. But if they're just going to do it blanket across the metro area, then I agree with you, Henry, that looks to be more of a tax than a solution to what they're claiming to be the problem.
Yeah, 217 is under construction right now. They got full set of logging crews out there. They're cutting trees I never knew even existed on the road, and it's all barreled and with the erosion socks on the side of the road there. And traffic is moving fine, but they're in desperate need of a 3 lanes on each side on 217. I work in Tigard, so I drive it every day. And anytime during Christmas time and get near the mall, it's just a disaster. So, but 217 will be on the list too, to be told. If I'm sure, I don't know where they got the money for it. It's been long overdue. But that's just one of the many metro projects that we've got here in this area. So, and they still haven't told us what the cost is going to be and what the time of day is. So nobody can plan, I only thing I can plan is maybe retiring earlier. So I won't have to drive it. So,
It's going to be variable. It's going to be variable tolling, and the price will depend on, I guess, demand. So.
Well,
So, John,
maybe let me propose something here, because again, I wasn't prepared for this item. It seems even though the session is, I don't believe it's going to be discussed in the short session. I think what it's going to do is go to committee and maybe make the next session if it gets that kind of support. But what I can tell you is the C4, which is made up of a lot of elected officials, our mayor sits on it, is looking at this topic, pretty hard. Everybody is, but right now the gist of the letter is that they're asking that a couple things. One, that we protect the current construction timeline so that phase 1A continues, but that they delay tolling on I-205 to allow time for a cohesive regional approach to congestion pricing and tolling to be developed and implemented in a thoughtful, regionally supported manner. So kind of back to what Tim talked about, I think the intention and the desire of the region is to, if you're going to take on tolls, don't just take it in one little area where people can divert and avoid those tolls. Do it regionally so that the diversion, if people want to divert around the metro area, they sure could try and figure out how to do that, but it's pretty unlikely. So I think that's the direction that most folks are going. This idea of voting for, that's kind of a popular position to take. I just don't know if there's regional support, to get that proposal to a bill. I don't know. The only one that I know of, and I think the only, there's, Senator Kennemer seems to be the only one talking about this. You're right, Tim. I don't think many other of our elected officials are tracking his proposal too closely. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard anybody else really kind of, taking on that.
Senator Wyden wasn't even aware that there was a proposal for tolling on the project. It was another person from Clackamas County. Actually, I don't remember the person. I know the person, but I don't remember his name. I've met him before. He brought up the question, and the senator was like, what tolling? You know, that shows you that he spends more time in Washington, D.C. than here, which is sad because we need him here to know what's going on to tell the people in Washington, D.C. what we need. So he was interested in hearing about it. But I think what they're trying to do is, I think you can't tax somebody without a vote to the people. And that's really going to be a tax. It's going to be I mean, I'm sure if they got in the legal courts, they'll figure out how to slice it one way or another. But I think the deal with Henry was talking about is, yes, we're not going to go and write the rules. That we were just saying that we are in support of the measure to get it to be voted on by the Senate and the House to refer it to the public. And I think that's really it.
That's the total extent of my intent, is just to say that if you do this, we're in favor of it.
And if it loses in the voting, then we've done our job. It gives it to the people. I think what's happening is too many things in government are being shoved down people's throats without anybody getting to say about it. And then he says, well, it's there, just tough, gonna have to deal with it. There's parking tolls now. It used to be free, sorry, you know. And I think people are just wanting to have a say in it. I mean, you look at the history of Oregon taxes, people have been voting for a lot of crazy taxes lately, you know, for the last 10 years. And it's like, you don't think it's going to pass, but all of a sudden there's 60% of population and seems to figure out how to pass it. And then there's a new tax. I mean, you buy a car now and you got to pay a $500 tax. I don't know what that money goes to. Does Oregon City get any of that money? The new car tax?
No.
Well, then it needs to be rewritten. It should be where the car is based at. You know, where's it registered? Why isn't that area getting the money for it?
I think it goes to the county.
It does.
So,
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
it's a
Then I
Multnomah
don't feel
County.
so bad then for buying. a new
Typically,
car.
I just bought a rig, and I just know that there's a county tax, and the salesman tried to charge me the Multnomah County tax, and I said,
No.
I'm in Clackamas County, so they got that turned around.
John, it's not a tax, it's a fee.
And it's a tax.
And a fun factoid, Oregon was the first state to charge a gas tax.
So I just don't know what the action item is here, other than, I don't know if Tim and Henry, you guys want to get together and draft a letter.
Sure.
You know, that
If it's longer than 3 sentences, it would be too long.
okay, well, happy to carry that on to TAC. Or we can, you know, take your start and turn it into something else. But
John, I think the first thing to do would be to ask the city manager if it's all right for us to do this.
I'd like you to put it in papers, Henry, and then I'll go ask him, because I'm still not exactly sure what
Okay.
he wanted to say.
Okay, I will draft something and send it to you via an email, and you should have it tomorrow.
We need a
Okay.
motion first before we write the letter, just to clarify the process on this.
Go ahead. But
I'm just wondering, because it sounds like we're ready to write a letter. We have not done a motion yet. So is someone making a motion, or what's the next step for this?
oh, I see where you're headed.
Yeah, I understand. Yes, I would like to make a motion to act upon Henry's suggestion of supporting the senator for our county in his bill regarding tolling in Oregon. And anybody want to second it?
I'll go ahead and second it.
All right, awesome. So Henry, you got some work tomorrow. Yeah, if you need to call me about it.
Wait a minute, Tim. I want to vote on this.
Oh, okay.
I want to know, all in favor of the TAC sending a letter supporting a ability to have tolling voted upon by the people, to say yay. Those who don't want to do that, say nay. or if anybody wants to abstain, I want them to abstain. So I'm going to say, all in favor of having the committee support this measure, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Any abstentions? Well, it looks like,
Oh, wait a second, just to clarify, we had Tim, Miles, Chetamir, Ben, and Bruce all say yes. Or
Correct.
aye.
Correct.
And Ray was the no.
Ray said no,
Okay, thank you.
and there was no abstentions. So then I will send you I'll actually send would it be okay if I send the proposal around for everybody's inspection, or would that be counter to the no? Okay.
So please just
I-
draft it up, send it to Kim, and Kim will take a look at it, and we'll figure out a way to distribute it so that
Okay.
folks can look at it and try to get that out before the next meeting.
Okay. I will, oh, by the way, just so you know, I'm going to be gone starting the 8th of March.
We can beat that.
So,
Doesn't the letter have to go out? I mean, this is supposed to go by 24th or something.
yeah, you're going to have to lead the March meeting because I won't be back till April.
Okay.
So next is Public Works report.
Very good. I think I have the topic. Kim, if you can make me a co-host, please. Folks, it's our GIS division has done some great work with accumulating the traffic counts for the city. And really all I'd like to do tonight is just sort of show you all where you can find that information. There is a huge amount of information on our website. And bear with me as I try to get there, please. Can you see my screen? It should be the Oregon City website. Bueller?
Yes, I can see it.
Thank you, Ben. All right. If you just come up to the search bar, type in traffic study. It will bring this up. Actually, as you were, I'm going to type in traffic count. My apologies. Katie England, our GIS tech that's been working on this. The first one that comes up is the 2017 traffic counts. We do have the 2021 traffic counts, which I'll show you. So if you can see this here, traffic speed, volume, and classification studies. You click there, it brings up this part of the web page that has some good information on our historic traffic volume counts. Any questions? There's Katie's number. And this is, again, open to anybody if they'd like to look at it. The 2021 interactive map. Open the traffic counts. And it breaks it down in a pretty neat fashion. Here on the left side of the screen, if you like, you can download all of the data for volume, speed, and class. What I find when I'm trying to look at any particular street, and we're just going to pick Lynn Avenue, right here. John, correct me if I'm wrong, but in this case, 149 that relates to this point location. The 149 really doesn't mean anything other than that. But if you hover your mouse over there and click, this gives those data points for the data that was collected at that location. Here's an overall of the count of traffic. If you're interested in speed, you can go down here to speed. Brings up a couple different graphs. Left-hand side of the screen is the time of the day that detected the traffic. These are speeds, 1 to 15, 16 to 20, so on and so forth. A little hard to read, there's a lot of numbers there, but what's really telling is this graph here for the volumes. And also right down here, 85th percentile is 25 miles an hour. The average speed at that location is 20. So again, this is a really handy way to not only get the number of vehicles using any given point that we've marked in the city, but also to look at the speed and the average speed, 85th percentile.
Do they have the posted speed limit in that on that anywhere?
That's a good question, Henry. I'm not seeing it on here.
It seems like that would be helpful.
Let's do class. Yeah, I'm not seeing the posted speed, Henry. John, do you know?
We want to try Control F to see if it's in there. That's usually what I do when I try to find something. You Control F. Just to post it in there, see if it's there.
Okay, I hit Control F, it didn't do anything.
You need to type posted into that bar. See the bar top right corner?
Like it's hidden by Ray's head.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thanks for training me up on this, Ray. I did not know.
So then just enter. All right, it says 0, so there's no posted speed.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ray.
Yeah. And
Excellent.
I had an unrelated question back on the map. Are there trail counts in the map or is only intersection counts?
Trail as in like walking trail?
Yeah, because I've been volunteering with Oregon City to count trail counts, like at the Clackamas River Trail, the Willamette River Trail. There's several trails in downtown, and are those included in this?
It doesn't appear to be, Ray.
Can that be added to this map possibly?
That's a very good question. I'm happy to ask Katie about that. She'd be the one that would be able to tell us that.
And I think Kelly Reed may have that data because I worked with Kelly Reed to gather the trail count data. So if you need to know where the data is, Kelly has it.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I've made a note of that, Ray. I'll get with Katie England and possibly also Kelly and ask her. Unless, John, do you have any other ideas?
Well, I just want to clarify, this is all about vehicles counts and vehicle speed. So there's no pedestrian count information in here. That's not to say that we don't have that published somewhere, but it's not in this map, and I don't think it would be appropriate for this map. It seems like if we've got that, we do a pretty good job of trying to build these data sets for folks that are interested in that data. So I do think that's a good question for Katie.
Okay.
So the only other thing I'd say about this one is that particular point is it's on Park Drive west of Lynn Avenue. So it's not a Lynn Avenue speed. If you want the Lynn Avenue speed, you'd have to go to the point at 110, and that should be on. And then if you pull that up, Vance, it says, that's on Lynn Avenue north of Glenwood Court. And I don't necessarily think that these points are necessarily, for instance, they're not going to do a speed study at the stop sign itself at Park Place there. That's set back, but graphically, they're just showing them close to that location. So, and these aren't necessarily intersection counts either. That's another thing. They're more like tube counters, and they'll give you
Hmm.
speed and number of passing vehicles during a particular day.
Vance, take a look at the one on Holcomb at the top. Since you guys changed the speed limit recently, there's quite a bit of data there. There's a lot of cars going down there. And we have one in there that says 80 at 4 o'clock. I don't know if that's 80 cars that are averaging 36 to 45.
Tim, which point again?
It was that one right there. I think, yeah, that's what I'm clicked on, I believe.
By Barlow?
Yeah, Holcomb and Barlow. And you look on the speed report and the volume report, you can, yeah, so look at let's see. Yeah, there, if you see, you can see what this pace speed is. The speed limit's 35 now. It used to be 40. It was 45 or was it 40?
I think it was 40.
Was it 40? Yeah, they dropped it 5.
Yeah, I think so.
So you can see it, and then the what was the count in the morning?
Oh, I think we're on the speed one.
Yeah.
Looks like the average speed is 38 miles an hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
The 45th or the 85th percentile is 45.
Wow.
Kind of aligns well with what the reality of that roadway is, not necessarily what people want to see on there, but what the reality of drivers' perception is of how fast they can run on that roadway. Or slow.
It's downhill. As I'm sure the downhill, the westbound speed it's all brakes to stay at 35, or downshift to the 4th gear in your car. Going eastbound, it would be interesting. I would probably imagine that the speed's pretty close to normal, or when it's posted, but the westbound is not.
This indicates it is eastbound.
So eastbound is okay. So what's the average speed?
Average is 38.
So pretty close to the posted speed limit now.
Right.
What's the next? If you go down to chart number 3, and then I guess it'd be 4, because that's where all the data summary is.
And here we are westbound now. Virtually the same.
Yeah, not much difference.
Anyway, good data, a lot of data. You can look at various years' data, I think, on this one.
Yep.
So we do those every 3 years.
Ray, do you have another question?
I do. I was just curious. It sounds like it's very car focused. Are there any plans to have the tubes count cyclists as well, like they're in the bike lane? Or is that not? I know that's feasible technology. Some cities do count bikes. And is that a plan that Oregon State's planning on doing?
Right, not right now, Ray. Haven't done that. That's not to say that we wouldn't, but I don't have any budget plan or anything in the budget plan for that kind of counting. Closest thing we get to that is we do some pedestrian counting at the elevator, but not for bicycles.
Okay, very good, folks. Ray, thanks again for showing me that tip and trick there on the Control F. And yeah, John, I'll reach out to Katie and see just if she does have any trail information and follow up with Ray. So thank you, folks. That's what I have.
Would that be part of the equality of that was in the comp plan discussion, to have the pedestrian and the trails stuff and the bike data all not interrelated or anything, but at least findable from one table to another?
I would think so. It seems to make sense to me. I would agree with what you said, Henry. Not everything all on one, graphic or page, but at least have it findable by.
Yeah, like, say if you want to know how many pedestrians were at this intersection, punch this button and we'll go to a different page and find it.
I guess I will clarify that I was referring to infrastructure when I was mentioning equitable. I wasn't, I mean, data is nice, but in my mind, the infrastructure goes a lot further than the data being available. And so it's a great, I guess, maybe a step to have the data, but it goes beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. But, take the steps we can make.
One thing that I don't know, and Ray, I haven't looked at this too much, but we do these citywide. Much of it's out in kind of our areas that may have pedestrian traffic, but they're not high pedestrian traffic, and it's pretty easily collected, right? It's tube counters that are a pretty standard form of data collection. So I want to say it costs us citywide about less than $20,000 to do these counts every 3 years. To do a bike count might be a little easier if there's a bike lane there, and we can, again, count on that tube counter. Or there may be data collectors that can tell the difference between the size of the vehicle, but pedestrian counter is not. That's as far as I'm concerned, unless you're talking a main street where you're, having a data collector that's, where there's a lot of pedestrian traffic, it's pretty difficult. And so taking Lynn Avenue, for instance, trying to count pedestrians on Lynn Avenue, that's almost a manual count, unless I'm missing something there.
So just added, there are video technologies out there that can scan, so it's not all tube based, that can just, count people going through by heat signatures or by other technologies. So if you want, I can send you what other cities do for bike and pedestrian counts, if that'd be helpful.
Yeah, it would be, because I suspect that's well more than what we have budgeted.
Sure.
Very good. That's all I had, John.
Is there any more of the? Hey, how about how's your construction stuff going?
Which construction?
Well, there is another topic on the agenda, Henry. So the next topic is about some of the information that we sent out in regards to the transportation system plan. So again, I know there's some new folks on there, but this transportation system plan is something that we did back in 2013 and put a lot of effort into developing that transportation system plan. And we sent out, Kim sent out the goals. Well, I think, Kim, didn't you sent out an excerpt of that transportation system plan, but the focus that I hope to have was on these goals. And really where I'm trying to get to is, and some of this is just us needing to find the time to move this one forward, but we have a city commission goal that talks about prioritizing projects in the transportation master plan for safety and connectivity. So I think this was really driven by the idea of trying to get more rapid flashing beacons around town, because pedestrians like those beacons, and trying to prioritize those a little bit. I think the mayor had some interest in this one, but our approach was to hire a probably DKS, the consultant who worked on our transportation system plan in 2013, have them come back. To me, it feels like a bit of a public engagement process and a public education process about what's in this TSP in terms of projects and how we evaluated those projects in terms of prioritization, which leads to the goals, right? So the goals were the filter by which the consultant team in 2013 looked at our long list of wishes and wants in terms of projects, and then ran them through evaluation criteria that were really kind of wrapped around our goals. So my thought was, make sure you folks get those, see those, read those, think about those, and as I look at them, they're very applicable. It's not like they've aged poorly. In other words, they're still are still the kind of goals that I think you would expect to see. We do have, Aquila pointed out some new things that were in the comp plan, and maybe there's some nuggets in there that we need to look at, particularly with regard to this equity piece. But I think we did have a goal that was called convenient and available. So, that is a little bit speaks to, equity in Oregon City, but maybe not completely. So anyway, we've got 8 goals in there. I happy to share the screen, but I guess maybe a show of hands. Did anybody look at those goals when they were sent around? Anybody want to raise their hand on that one?
Couple of us did.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure if I did or not.
Okay. Well, that's okay. I mean, this is one of those that I'm struggling a little bit to figure out how to approach, but I think having DKS back in the room again to kind of share, and then, looking at the project list, we're early on review of the TSP, but we're not that early, right? I think we need to, last time we renewed our TSP, the state was involved. A lot of agencies were doing them. They provided grants to update TSPs, and that's how we got ours done. And I suspect that's going to come around again, whether it be 2023 or not, I don't know. But we haven't programmed to update the TSP, but this goal came up, and we're just trying to figure out how to manage it. And my thought was using the Transportation Advisory Committee makes a lot of sense. There may be folks that come out of the 2040 plan that might participate in that, and have essentially just a review of what was done to prioritize our project list and see if there's any adjustments that need to happen there without kind of blowing it up and turning it into a new TSP effort. So again, maybe Kim, just before you leave this week, if you could resend those goals out. I really haven't done my work on my end to figure out to sit down with DKS and talk to them about this goal and how we might approach it. So I just keep there's just too many things in the queue. But if you guys could look at those goals, I think that's what we're probably going to be talking about more. And that combined with making sure some of our new members were kind of familiar with the transportation system plan. So I don't have anything more to add to that, Henry. I see Ray's got his hand up, but
yeah, go for it, Ray.
I wasn't sure if we're diving into the goals, but I have a comment about goal 4 because it only talks about Oregon City, like throughout Oregon City, and doesn't talk about connecting to other cities like West Lynn with the Oregon City West Lynn Bike Ped Bridge project. And so I wanted to make sure it will clarify whether, as we're reviewing the projects, whether the bridge project can be on that list of projects to be considered for prioritization with connectivity and safety. So I don't know if that can be answered at some point. Thank you.
I do think that would be the kind of suggestion that this committee might have an opinion on, and we would probably need to reach some consensus on that decision. Kind of like how the commission's trying to reach consensus on that particular decision. I think you're right though, Ray. I think when we did this TSP, it's interesting that we didn't have a Willamette River crossing in the TSP. And kind of my recollection, the community didn't really even make that suggestion at the time. So whether that was because, they weren't kind of led in that way, and there was thought provocative discussion around it. Sometimes that's what it takes to, bring something as big as a Willamette River pedestrian crossing, right? That's a pretty big, seems almost inconceivable to many people. So I suspect that's why it's not in there. And yeah.
One of the sections I've often wondered why it's missing in all the plans I've ever looked at is a section on what it would take to improve connections between cities, between areas, not within the area, but between Oregon City and Gladstone, Oregon City and West Lynn, Oregon City and Canby. There's no place in the transportation plan as it's structured where you can actually talk about how to get from one area to another like that. It's all within the town.
Would that fall more on the county and their purview?
Yeah, but they don't talk about it either. That's the point.
All right.
Unless we would bring it up and push it up to that level, I don't think anybody would ever notice.
The interesting thing about that we're finding with, you mentioned the county, and I would probably argue that they probably do touch on some of that, depending on especially the further outside the metro region area, right? But I mean, they probably aren't too focused on the connection between Oregon City and Gladstone, because those are two local jurisdictions that with no county, land in between them really. But what's been interesting to hear about the bike ped bridge option, or the Willamette River crossing, I think, what do we call that? The Willamette River bicycle pedestrian bridge concept plan, is that the county and metro and the state, for that matter, are saying, look, if it's not adopted at the local level, then it's probably, we're not. Oh, I think they've said that they're not going to adopt it at their level. So it does seem like there's a problem in that our TSP doesn't have doesn't discuss that, and probably should.
When's the next time to update TSP?
Well, like I said, I think, I don't remember how long it had been before 2013, but I don't think, typically the standard is 10 years, but I think we went longer than that before, and we're on track to go longer than that now. But I think in our next budget cycle, we're going to have to look pretty hard, which we're in a 2-year budget cycle. We're in the first year. We're in just through the first, 7 or 8 months of our first year of the 2-year budget. So, 2023, 24, and 25 will be the next budget cycle. And that's where I think we're going to have to budget for a TSP.
I guess I had a follow-up question of what John was talking about with the, project being adopted into TSP. Since the concept plan is not adopted into it, is it eligible to be in this list of prioritized projects? Or, because in my mind, I'm trying to get this prioritization done as the city commission decides whether to adopt a concept plan. And so I'm trying to understand whether this prioritization can be used to guide the commission's decision process. It could be months before they decide, because based on their work session last week, it doesn't sound like they're gonna make a decision anytime soon. And so I'm wondering, is it possible to get this safety and connectivity prioritization process done before the commission votes on whether to adopt the concept plan?
Concept plan or comprehensive plan?
The bridge concept plan, the one with West Lynn, because I know it has to go through West Lynn, Oregon City. Each commission and city council have to decide whether to adopt it. And it sounds like it could be summer or fall before they do it, because according to the work session last week, it didn't seem like a rush to get that done. I watched it. I will say it was a weird meeting last week, the work session. And so I don't know if that means that this concept plan is basically on hold until the end of the year, or if it's going to be like 2 months there's really no deadline on when the joint work session is going to happen with West Lynn. And so my interest is to get this prioritization project, this list of projects prioritized before they decide whether to adopt a concept plan. So thank you.
I think they're tracking separately, Ray. I mean, there might be some benefit to that, but I think, you know, my intention was to have a timeline between, you know, to complete this in August. I don't know that we'll get there because we're starting later than we'd planned, but that was my intention. And I think we could do it at a quicker pace, and that may be right on line with the bridge plan. But I think, you know, that bridge project is such an anomaly, and I think it's hard for a lot of folks to kind of think, visionary with that, right? I mean, a lot of the projects in the TSP are the kind of things that people can wrap their arms around. You know, if it's building a pathway along Lynn Avenue, or, you know, connecting sidewalks in your neighborhood, those are more what most people are kind of focused on. But I don't think the two have to go hand in hand. It might package well if they're ready that way. And if we're making significant changes to the TSP project list, we may have to go through an adoption process there. Henry, I think I beat that one up long enough.
Okay. Is there anything else on the agenda? Is there anything anybody wants to bring to the next meeting? Any new items anybody wants to talk about?
I just have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Just out of curiosity, how long does it take to get a street light replaced when somebody takes it out? That's from
Depends on the street light, I guess. Are we talking about that one up on
Yep, on Holcomb.
Holcomb?
Yeah. It's only 3-year-old light.
Yeah. I don't have an update on that. I thought our response was pretty quick, but it's a PGE light at this point in time. I don't know if Vance knows anything about it. But we report that to PGE. They were pretty responsive to get out there and get it secured and safe. But
They did.
I
They did a great job.
I don't know. We could find out, Tim, but those vary a lot. It's really just, I can tell you when a street light just goes out, sometimes PGE is proactive and is able to go out and just do an inventory and figure out which lights are out. Like if the bulb burns out, or if a neighbor reports it, it gets on a list. And then we get these monthly reports that say, hey, we did these lights. But I don't know that I've ever seen a response timeline for that. And in cases of an accident, I think they put them on a list, and we can bug them about it for sure. It sounds like that's what you're asking for is, hey, can you help get that one replaced sooner?
Well, I like to give credit to the city and to them, because they did respond very quickly, because it was a potential hazard. I know that the person's fence has not been replaced, and it still looks like, something from a cartoon. But that car had to hit that light pretty hard to bend it that much to get it close to the power line. So we're just kind of want to make sure it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. So should I follow up with with PG on it? Since because it was a builder installed pole for the neighborhood.
Tim, I'll reach out to PGE. So by all means, I'll reach out to you and let you know if I get any information from PGE. I have asked about similar situations before and have been told that whether it's a streetlight that's just out or in this case, one that's been knocked down, PGE does kind of use this work as somewhat fill-in work. If they've got bigger jobs to do in Fisher Fry, that's what they're working on. And they do prioritize replacing damaged streetlight poles over, going out and replacing a luminaire. But it's no problem on our end to give PG a call. We do have a project number for them and seeing where it's at. They may have an answer, and they may say, we don't have an answer. we'll get back to you. But I'll find that out and let you know, Tim.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
That's all I have.
Is anything else?
Yeah, for my future agenda item, I was just curious, this interest to discuss the climate-friendly equitable communities rulemaking process, because it's be done by May. And so we still have March, April, basically 2 months to discuss that. I don't know if I may be the only one following it. It is very detailed and a lot of nuts and bolts, but it will impact every city in the state. And so just wanted to see if there's interest to discuss that rulemaking process.
Can you repeat what you called it, Ray?
Yes, the climate-friendly equitable communities rulemaking process, which is being created by the DLCD, and it's Governor Brown's executive order, order number 20-04 is what's required this rulemaking process.
Is that the one that the natural gas company is up in arms about because they think it's going to push electricity to do everything and cut the gas and out of the picture entirely?
I can send you the link to it. I don't think it deals with gas stuff. It does deal with electric cars and charging stations, which does relate to electricity, but I don't know of any resistance to it. So, or regarding gas powered stuff. So, but I can send you a link about it though.
Yeah, because I know the city of Milwaukee was trying to talk about prohibiting putting natural gas into new homes. So
Yeah, I don't think this doesn't deal with natural gas. It's more about housing and transportation rulemaking.
So it sounds like there could be an some spin-off on that might affect stuff. So it'd be interesting, I think. But I think it also requires a little more staff investigation to figure out what it is all about. So
Ray, if you have a link, would you mind sending it out to the team so we can read through it?
I can email it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, Ray, can you send that to Kim and she can distribute it in a way that won't end up in a bunch of conversation that we shouldn't be having?
Yeah, that works.
Come on, you like paperwork, Sean.
Yeah.
Fill
Well-
out plain forms.
unless I hear anything else in the next 3 or 4 seconds, I'm going to call it a day.
Yeah, thanks.
This meeting is officially adjourned.
Good night,
Thank you
everybody.
all.
Good night. Thank you,
Good
guys.
night.